Hello and welcome to the Boxing, Weights and Rugby YouTube channel. Today we will be talking boxing with my good friend Sugar-Free Luke and Enda, Ireland's finest. How are we doing, everybody?
Doing great.
Enjoying the sun.
Yes,
Yep.
That's it. Everyone's got to stay at the sun, just make sure none of us burn.
Yes, you use plenty of factor 60 or something.
Hide inside. So as soon as the sun
Especially if
comes out,
you're a
everyone goes back.
ginger, Luke.
I'm well aware. Look at my cheeks
Oh
already.
my!
I was going to say, how's your
90%
training
of
coming
my
along?
family are, so it's like whoosh.
Yeah, training's going well. It's weird because I'm going away for 2 weeks next week, and I literally, it sounds bad, but I can't wait to get back from that.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it's a bump in the road.
That's a good head space to be in.
And then there'll be nothing in my way then after I get back. So have a few kebabs when I'm in Turkey, and then come back and punish myself for it.
Yeah.
Proper kebabs though. What was I going to say? When is do you have a fight scheduled for?
We're hoping for November 4th.
Oh, nice. So
but
plenty of fireworks.
also, yeah, but I'm gonna try and get a rematch with the fella I just fought, and he's going to be fighting in September, so could be then either. So we'll see.
Nice.
That's an exclusive.
Nice.
So
there you
Is
go.
that
Breaking.
still a heavyweight?
yeah, but I'll be going down to near to cruiser for it. I'll be coming in light.
Nice. Just good. Excellent. Right. Let's get started, because across the UK and Ireland, we never had a weekend quite like it. 3 cards headlined by 3 separate world title fights. Where would we like to start, gentlemen?
I suppose the probably best place to start is in Manchester, because that'll be the briefest one, I'd say.
Yeah, that was probably the least, I would say, interesting. So, yeah. So what did we all think of?
I didn't watch Manchester.
Did you not watch it at all?
I didn't watch it live.
No, I went back and watched it.
Same.
Yeah, no, just when I heard the fight wasn't great, I was like, you know what, I'm just not going to bother.
Well, I decided when the Way debacle happened. That was when I decided, okay, I'll watch Crispin and Smith over the Wood one.
Yeah, like because it was a case of I was going to watch Conlon and then I was going to watch Wood, but the second that whole weight thing came in, you were like, oh my god, he didn't even care about it. Like
and on the fight itself, I mean, Lara kind of fought like he had a full belly. He looked sluggish.
Yeah, so he wasn't kind of in kind of fighting.
I'm not going to say he wasn't in shape, because he looked good on the scales, even at 129. But just in the ring, there was nothing. There was nothing fluid about his move. Yeah, there was no sharpness. There was nothing fluid. Everything it was a laboured performance, is how I'd put it. He had to try when he was doing anything. Like usually he's kind of like, he'll let a shot go and it's like no effort to him. It seemed like an effort to move his feet and to move his hands.
Yeah, it was. So we watched the Billum Smith fight, and then before, because I was obviously responding to you guys periodically because I was trying to avoid any spoilers for the rest of it. So we went straight in and watched the with Lara fight after without any spoilers. So after a while, you're writing down your scorecard, and I'm like, this is now kind of redundant after a stage. I thought we'll focus on the fight before we get into the weight, because obviously the weight's a big point. The word I've kind of got written down for Wood's performance was it's like taming a cobra. Oh, we lost Luke.
Yeah, I got you.
So we had like someone who's very dangerous in front of him, and he kept hitting him enough to wear him down with like the jab, the 1-2, and Lara started to go a little less, and he would go. You always knew he would go, and then he got tired. But everyone was talking about how different Lara was. If you go back and watch the original fight, that's exactly how the original fight was going. Because I thought he looked sluggish in the original fight. I thought Wood was well on top, but because he caught him and knocked him out fair and square, my assumption was this time round that would happen again, but this would happen again maybe slightly further on in the fight. But it just never happened. He never got going at all this time.
I think the reason he looked sluggish in the first fight too was the speed differential between them, because Wood is a fast, sharp mover.
Yeah, he's got good feet.
He would make a lot of men look sluggish. But I think the difference with Lara this time was everything, like I said, it looked like an effort to him to even get from A to B. Looked like an effort. And then when Wood would back off and even change an angle and Lara had to reset, it just seemed like a lifetime to do it.
Yeah.
As opposed to in the last fight, whenever Wood would do that, Lara would turn and be with him. But even that wasn't happening this time. It was strange. But we have to give kudos to Ben Davison and to Leigh Wood, because enough people were slating Ben last time out, and not enough people are giving credit. Those same people, they're not giving the credit this time out. So definitely well done to him. I still agree with the towel in the first fight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
but whether there was 10 seconds to go or 1 second to go, one punch is one too many.
Yeah, and I think we'll see that in another fight that we're covering, that we might come across on
another card. Yeah.
Well, actually, there's 2 fights you could have, but there's one where the towel was involved, and the other one where I still have my opinions on that. So I'll wait for that.
Like, at the end of the day, I know myself. If I thought I was okay, I would be mad at my coach. But it's better to have a brave fighter than a brave coach.
It's not your job at that stage. It's your coach's job.
Exactly.
But,
your coach is there seeing, everything. I mean, you're in the heat of battle.
Especially Ben Davison. Ben does be sat in the middle of the ring nearly.
Yeah.
So
he really does sit on the edge.
He definitely sees it.
What I was going to say is, what I found with Lara is, if you watch in the first fight, his flurries tended to come for, he would try and close the gap. And again, he was less successful this time. And particularly if he was throwing that kind of loopy right hand to either the ribs, or as soon as he made contact with anything, he flurried. So, and that left hook, the one that catches him, the left hook comes round. But what Wood did was Wood would feint him, Wood would then step off, Wood would connect with maybe a 1 or a 2. But by the time Lara went to throw that shot, that basically using the right hand as like a distance gauge, it was gone. So there was nothing to build the flurries off. So what he would do is he would wait till 30 seconds at the end of the round when he had all his energy. And he would literally just jump at Wood, throw his flurries, and as long as Wood stayed compact, he wasn't able to get the same shot. The only reason that shot landed the first time was Wood tried to trade hooks.
He hooked with him, yeah. I think
that fight, it reminded me of a quote. It's like an old Chinese quote about fighting, and it was, when fighting an angry blind man, best just stay out of the way.
Yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
That's what Wood did, because Lara was fighting like an angry blind man.
Yeah.
He was just waiting until he could touch something, and then he was letting go. Do you know?
But I do think if Wood stands there, Lara looks $1 million. That's always been the way. If you're 100%. Able to use your feet, Lara will look $1 million, which is why Warrington will always have problems with him, because even that version of Lara, Warrington's got to come to him. Warrington can't step off. Whereas
but there's your, there's your people looking good on a bag, people looking good on pads, and then they get into a ring and someone takes a step off and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You know, it's as simple as that, isn't it?
But I love Lara, and I think he's fabulous to watch, but he is limited, and we always knew that coming in terms of he's brilliant at what he does, but there's, like you said, it's the, if you box it, you're able to box it.
And suggest that because he's limited, that's why Eddie Hearn brought him over to the UK.
He wasn't meant to beat Warrington.
No, he wasn't.
This was the thing. He was just brought over as the mark time fight before the Kanzu fight.
Yeah.
And they found a diamond in the rough.
Like, at the end of the day, we got.
Or else it exposed Warrington's
Lara's only 24. He's a baby.
He does look 50.
I know.
He's one of those boys. He's had a hard life.
Actually, there was a signing for Queensbury today, and he looked bloody my age, and then was on at 22, and you're like, "Hi!" And he was British, so I was like, "Okay."
Tough paper round then.
Yeah, tough paper round. But I thought Wood did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah,
and I think he was doing that in the first fight, and he got greedy. I think that's what he said. I think he said in an interview he just got kind of drunk on his success, and he couldn't believe how much he was tagging Lara, and he just tried to push the envelope a little too far, and he was caught.
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of attitude in it. Oh, this is easy.
Yeah,
and then bang. Do you know, it can happen to the best of them. Do you know?
But that's the whole thing, and it's one thing I keep circling back to, especially regarding other fighters. That boxing is primarily discipline, and if you don't have the discipline, you won't succeed 100%. Because you will give in to the impulses of pushing yourself on, or wanting to go toe to toe, or wanting to do something reckless. When the reality is, step back and fight properly.
Boxing is a cerebral sport. You got to be clever.
Yeah,
and it's not a tough man's game. Anyone can have a fight. Not everyone can box.
Tough man's going to get hurt in this sport, but the problem you have is it is also a business, and if you are boring, then
You have
that's
to mix
exactly what
it
it
in.
is. You've got to
Well,
mix. You've
And
got to mix it up.
Wood is nothing like Wood is not boring. He can box really well.
Yeah.
But he's exciting.
Of course,
And
it
he
was
puts
the Conlon
combos
fight.
together.
The Conlon fight's one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Yeah,
fight of the
I don't
year.
think I've watched a better fight live.
No, it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Fights as good, but not better. Like that was class. Like that was
One. I was trying to think of one I've sat down and watched live. I've gone back and obviously we've seen ones over the years, but one I've actually sat and watched live.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch Provodnikov Bradley live.
I did. That was
considering I gave Taylor Shannon my fight of the year, I'll probably have to say that one.
Baranchek, Zapida as well. I watched that live.
They were two amazing fights. They really were last year.
Unreal. But yeah, look, I think where do you think Wood goes from here then? Do you think it's going to be Warrington? Because I know what you feel about this Enda, and I feel the exact same way.
So let's Enda, make your point.
Right. My point is, right, and it's British, but it's everyone. Like it's everyone with their own fighters. Like the Germans, wanted in Germany and want to keep fighters that will be popular. They want Warrington Lara for the obvious Leeds Forest thing, and then that'll get. Sorry, Wood Warrington even.
Wood Warrington.
Wood, his big city ground fight, because let's face it, everything now in boxing revolves around football, because that's how you get the crowd. You attach the boxer to a football club, get the football club crowd in. I'm not disputing the guys seem like very big football fans, but we see a lot of it. Like immediately, Hearn comes out, he's going to fight at Goodison Park, he's going to fight at Anfield, he's going to fight at White Hart Lane, he's going to fight at, City Ground. And you're like going, couldn't sell 2,000 tickets. He ain't fighting nowhere. But it's the Hearn machine. Whereas these two boys coming together could do that. However, is Warrington deserving of his shot? I don't think so. And now I can't pronounce his name, so I'm hoping that.
Neither can I.
Okay.
I'll get the WPA thing. I was having this conversation about amateurs with somebody the other day, and I was like, the biggest problem I have is I can follow the Americans, I can follow the Cubans, and I can follow the Brits because I can pronounce all their names. And then we get the brilliant Uzbeks and the brilliant Kazakhs, and I can't say any of their names, which is on me for being useless.
I think if I'm Wood,
Kolmatov. Let's go with
Kolmatov. Yeah, we'll go with Kolmatov. But Wood has had. Remember, Wood ordered the rematch. So the mandatory waited for the rematch to happen. He can't then suddenly, I want to pick another fight now. The rematch was his pick. So I think the mandatory is entitled to either box next or be paid enough money to wait.
Unless he's unifying, there should only be one man he fights next.
Agreed. But I think there's actually a reasonable chance it happens because ultimately they want to do that fight at the City Ground, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wood has just fought, so I can't see him fighting this side of summer. They're not going to do that fight. They're not going to do the Warrington Wood fight in November because it won't happen in August. It's too early, and then the football season starts, so they can't do that again until next year. So Wood will want to have another fight. So Nottingham Arena Kolmatov would be a fight, but they don't want that fight because Kolmatov's pretty good.
It's a banana.
We don't know how good.
He's been avoided. He was fighting in Belfast, so I saw.
Who did he hammer? I watched him beat somebody.
Yeah, I think that was in the Belfast card, and he absolutely annihilated him. Steve from Boxing UK had said it.
No, I think it was Lopez that beat Lowe, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah, it was Lopez that beat Lowe. That's who it was.
But the worst thing about being a big heavy hitter that's kind of unknown, basically to us, but obviously not to his home community, is that they are avoided like the plague. I mean, look at Triple G, how much he was avoided, and for the Kazakhs and the Uzbeks, it's so hard because selling them in Europe and we have this nonsense now saying, Lara and Warrington or Wood and Warrington will fill out that, and he won't. But that shouldn't be the kind of the measure stick of who gets the next fight, because then we'd have we'd have nothing but popular fighters, every week. And Sky or Matchroom do tend to do that, and I understand the logic. They need to sell arenas and they need to get big crowds, but people also deserve their shot at the title when they're entitled.
That's why mandatories are so important. That's why it's so key. But ultimately, so number one, I actually think Wood himself will take this based on the fact that who's picking Lara as a voluntary. Like I don't think any of the other featherweights pick that. If the team decides not to, Wood should be stripped because they've ordered the fight. And then that way, Kolmatov gets his shot at the title. Yes, it's not against Wood, but ultimately, if he then has a belt, he becomes part of the bigger picture, eventually gets that commercial fight. Now, Everything Boxing made a really good point on Twitter, which was, it's not about the best fighting the best when it comes to actually building a fight. It's the most known fighting the most known. That's the way the business of boxing works. But if you're watching us and if we're on here, we're more interested in the actual sport. So for us, that's what I'd like to see is Wood, Kolmatov, and then him fight Warrington, the winner fight Warrington.
Warrington should be fighting someone else in the meanwhile too.
It's about bums on seats. Do you know?
That's what actually matters.
And at the end of the day, these people, these promoters and the fighters have to pay sanctioning fees for these title fights. Would you rather pay whatever it is, 250k for the WBA belt and then only earn $1 million, or would you rather pay 250k and earn 3 or 4 million?
It's a percentage. So
yeah,
if you're
but by that logic, every big fight would be in the Middle East because they'd pay the most for it, you know.
And that's happening. That's slowly happening.
But not every fight at the moment. No. But if you go by that logic, you know, I mean, that's where the big fights will end up, and that's where they are ending up.
And I think what you said earlier, and with discipline, and also people being like, "Oh, who needs him?" I think that leads into another stadium fight that happened at the weekend with a Coley with discipline. If he could box with discipline, like Lee would, he'd be champion for 10 or 15 years.
But if my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
And Eddie Hearn wouldn't shut the fuck up about them. Jesus Christ, he loves mentioning balls.
Well, in fairness, my favourite mention of balls this week has been Mr. Andy Clark. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was on the preview or on the Boxing News.
That was on the Boxing News review show. That was brilliant.
That was so funny. No, that was very good, and I listened to that, and it was brilliant. And I'm delighted I'm delighted ID Boxing has gone in with Boxing News, bought it out, and you know, because it's going to bring it to a new generation, and the depth of knowledge that he has, you know, and love for the sport. That's what you want, especially with that magazine, you know.
It's wonderful.
So it's great because if you look at the way Ring Magazine's gone, it's gone an awful nosedive.
True.
You know.
I mean, the covers are brilliant. I love the covers of the Ring stuff.
The covers are gone now. Like the magazine is no longer in circulation.
The covers are all online. To Belfast and Conlon.
Yes.
Would you watch Conlon and Warrington? I'd watch that.
I'd watch the hell out of that.
That would be an intriguing fight.
I'd love that fight.
I think that's a fair matchup.
It is fair, and
that's the shit or bust fight, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a crossroads fight, yeah.
But I would worry for Conlon in that fight because, and if we're reviewing his fight, this is what I'd say: Conlon needs to not get involved in firefights. He cannot win.
Discipline.
But he's no power. Like he's no power behind his shots. So
but Warrington's not a puncher either.
No. Sorry? Now, interestingly enough, though,
but he's got the power somewhere else.
Carl Frampton said Warrington hit him the hardest that he's ever been hit.
But the number
really interesting.
Yeah, that's an absolutely mad one. But Warrington, the numbers suggest that Warrington doesn't punch as hard as the other elite featherweights, and neither does Mick. I think Mick's big problem is that, like you said, he can't get involved in a firefight with a puncher, whereas Warrington wouldn't necessarily have that kind of switch of lights off.
I think that fight would be a war of attrition because neither of them are knocking the other out.
But Warrington's not the fighter he was in terms of, and again, I'll come on to this for one of the other fights we were talking about. They don't go through. Warrington isn't as relentless as he once was. He's now much patchier.
That's right.
So I'd pick Conlon in that particular matchup.
I fancy him too, yeah.
But I've picked Conlon.
I'm sorry, and I know I went against Conlon at the weekend, and I seem to be going against him here, but I just think his recklessness can cost him. You know, his bravado. You know, but this whole thing, I can fight my way out of anything. No, you can't. You're a very skillful boxer. Use your skills. You know,
but can he do it? So this is the thing. So this was the point.
That's what I'm saying. Like if he goes to war with Warrington, okay, Warrington mightn't have the power, but he's every trick in the book in a war.
And that's his wheelhouse. You don't want to be fighting another man's fight.
Yeah. Whereas if Conlon stood off him and picked his shots and boxed him, he would frustrate the hell out of Warrington. And
I think what Conlon needs to do is get his amateur mindset back and break his 12-round fights into 4 3-round fights in his head. So first 3 rounds, I've won that fight. Then another fight starts in the 4th. Because that's why he was so excellent over the 3-round. Sorry?
Does he need a new coach?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I didn't look at it and go, they picked the wrong game plan. But what I'm saying is Conlon physically capable of doing the amateur style touch, pick your shots and move in a title fight? Because as I said, I've never seen him do that.
No.
Like a 12-round fight. He's never actually done that. If you look at all of his longer fights, he tucks up tight, he goes in close. He's really good to watch. He hasn't actually done it. So is he actually capable of doing what we all think he should do, which is to basically use his feet and his sharp punches?
Like I say, I think if he broke it down mentally into 4 little fights over the 12-round distance, I think he would be able to do it. And I think his pride let him down as well the other night, because he knew he had to know that southpaw wasn't working. He had to know, and he was not switching. And then he had to show he was tough in front of his home crowd. Those are two things that let him down. Because it was the uppercut wouldn't have landed if he was orthodox, the one that knocked him out.
What do we think of Lopez?
Sorry?
What do we think of Lopez?
I think he's great, and I like how he closes the distance with that kind of bolo jab nearly.
It's a hook. It's a swipe almost.
Yeah.
And I thought
it's really interesting.
This was the interesting point, I thought, was from the southpaw stance, the way that Conlon's jab kind of comes out, as he kind of swipes, he swipes down and across.
Yeah.
So it fit perfectly over the southpaw jab. And then it was just buzzing Conlon every time. And it was so fast.
He threw one of my favourite combinations as well, which is so simple. A jab, a right hand, and a jab after it.
The 1-2-1.
And it's just how you punctuate. Like, you can't really get any clearer when you're knocking someone's head back like that with a jab after a right hand.
Kovalev was the absolute master at that years ago.
Yes.
So who does Lopez fight now?
Ramirez.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Please.
Yeah, that's the one.
You said that Saturday. And Ramirez tweeted them out, and they seem keen on it. And
those are the 2 best featherweights, I think. Those are your 2 top 2 guys.
Ramirez is number 1 for me.
Ramirez is the number 1 for me as well. That would be a good fight as well, and I can't imagine it'd be too difficult to make it at all.
They're both under Top Rank.
Yeah, I think Top Rank are targeting that, because Top Rank have made some bloody good fights.
Well, Top Rank made the Conlon fight. You know, they said Lopez, you're fighting Conlon.
Eddie Hearn's mantra for when he was doing the garden shows was no easy fights. Top Rank took that and just took it so literally. They really do not give their guys easy fights.
But Bob's been there for so long. He's not got an emotional attachment. He's like, if you're good enough,
you'll make it.
Yeah, but I think he knows as well that these easy fights aren't selling. They're not winning the viewers in the US.
Yeah. Well, look at Keyshawn Davis. Look at the real big baby. Like, they're in real good fights now. Yeah. They're prospects.
Yeah, he's fighting shortly, isn't he, Anderson, on Sky?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
I actually saw Sky's schedule. They put it up. And someone was saying, that's great. And I was saying, yes, all the Top Rank ones are brilliant.
Yeah,
the top rank, it's very bare.
I wonder who's going to pick up Crawford Spence.
I think it ends up on Fight TV.
Really?
Yeah, that's likely.
Yeah, because basically, if it's Top Rank, it'll go to Sky.
Yeah.
But probably the PBC probably aren't going to give it to DAZN, and
Showtime.
It ain't going to be Showtime. It might be BT, but my money says Fight because most of the other
BT
Is it,
ever bought
is
a
it
big?
exclusively on Showtime, or are PBC and Showtime doing a mix?
I think it's exclusively Showtime. I haven't seen like a Fox. I think the Fox deal's done. I haven't seen them on Fight and Fox in ages.
Fair enough.
But,
But-
just to go off topic for a second
Yes.
now.
I think we're all
I
off
see-
topic.
I seen Conor Ben called out Jaron Ennis.
Oh,
I would happily, I'd pay money to watch that, no problem.
oh dear. But why is Ennis not fighting? We're going to get really sidetracked, and I'm going to go off on a rant about activity again because it's absolutely insane.
He's not. I'll tell you why he's not fighting, because he was waiting for the Bud fight and it never came.
No, it never came. Well, he needs to get on that undercard. He needs to be chief support on that undercard and eliminate
With a statement.
Yeah, and really,
Absolutely.
because he's not going to get that. He's not going to get the winner because there's a rematch, and there's actually a three-way rematch clause because if Spencer Crawford wins the first and the other guy wins the second, there's a contractually mandated third fight.
And I think that actually brings us back on track there with the rematch clauses, because there's one fight I did not want to rematch for, and it was CBS versus Lawrence Okoli. I noticed the merch.
Hey!
Yeah,
Repping your man.
Honestly, as much as I like Smith, I do not want to watch a rematch of that fight.
But this is the thing. They were talking about this, and again, they were saying it's the common denominator is Billum Smith is always in great fights.
Yeah.
Lawrence Okoli is always in horrible fights, and if you weren't invested, I think the word they keep using is, I think it's like enthralling or engaging.
Mm-hmm.
They never actually say it was a good fight. It's
No,
words.
it wasn't a good fight, but it was.
It was bite your nail fight.
Yeah, and
Because
this
I
was
was going
engaging.
to switch over to Wood Larry and I never did.
Yeah,
You know?
it was
See,
right.
the problem
I've got a
with-
whole spiel for this fight, so you guys start, and do you want me to go?
You
go
go.
first.
Right. So I'm going to walk you through the build up with this because, like, I've followed Chris since he was a 2-0 prospect. So I'll tell you about. So the first time I saw Chris was on a Josh Taylor undercard, and I've sat and worked it out. It was against a guy called Jan Harisdar, or whatever it is. It's on Boxrec. You can go look it up. He's 2-0, prospect from Poole, and that's where I was living at the time. And he was on a Josh Taylor undercard. So great. So I go down to the O2 Academy in Boscombe, which is in Bournemouth, and I see Chris fight 3 fights back to back on the local shows. And then they do a cycling show up at the York Hall, where we had Chantel Cameron, we had Martin Bacoli, we had Lee McGregor, and we had Chris Billum Smith fight Robin Dupree. And I watched that fight against Robin Dupree, and if you'd have said to me that CBS wins the world title after I sat and watched them go, it was 10 or 8 rounds against Robin Dupree, who I bumped into on the stairs after the fight, I'd have laughed. Genuinely. I thought when I first saw Chris on the shows, I was like, he looks like he could be a proper British champion. And that's kind of what they were after, because I actually bumped into Barry McGuigan, and that was their plan. Their plan was to go try and get a show down there, like a TV, it was Channel 5 at the time, try and get Chris an attraction in Bournemouth, and then build up to ultimately it would be like something at the Vitality. And for it to end up being, we go from Dupree, we then go to the loss against Riakporhe, which was like a reasonably controversial one. He did brilliantly in that fight. And I thought
there was a bad cut in that fight, wasn't it?
Bad cut. There was a knockdown, whether it was a knockdown or not. Again,
dubious, yeah.
I'm not the one to make that call because I'm totally biased in this whole thing. Like, totally biased in that. Then he thought Thorley for the Commonwealth title in one of the fight camp shows in Eddie's back garden, and he knocks him out cold. He then goes Dukar, and that was a brilliant fight. That was another really physically tough fight. And again, the same things keep happening. You're like, he's too stiff, he keeps getting hit, but he's tough as hell and he can punch, and he's technically really good. He's technically sound at what he does.
Sorry to interrupt you, Adam, was Dukar, was he the kickboxer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was really tough, and he gave Jordan Thompson hell.
That's right, yeah.
Then he goes 2 fights with McCarthy. First fight, I thought he won fairly comfortably, but it was controversial enough. Rematch, knocks him out. Fight of the year against Chamberlain that we were at. That atmosphere in Bournemouth is one of the best ones I've ever seen. You'd think because it's kind of like Southern England, it would be quiet. It's not. The atmosphere down there is absolutely unbelievable in the fights. I'm not going to attempt to talk about the dude who he KO'd on Sky last, because I can't say his name, but it was utterly brilliant. And for this to build up, and for Chris to then get his shot against his old mate from the gym, against the best cruiserweight in the world, at the Vitality Stadium, was absolutely unbelievable. Now, the fight itself was dreadful. If you weren't involved, I was tense, but it was terrible. And it was because Okolie's regressed. Like, his regression is startling. He's got all the tools, and we were talking about this earlier. If he could box like Lee would, he'd be untouchable.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
he cannot do it. And because
all he needs is 2 punches.
Yeah, like literally, if he throws, Barry Jones was talking about, if he throws an authoritative jab and a right hand behind it, he doesn't need to do anything else. He's so big. But at the end of that fight, he was starting to headbutt Chris. That is absolutely ludicrous that he is so close and falling in so bad that his head is going that far over his front foot. That it was insane. And now, when we were picking our fights, the thing that made me pick Chris was, one, I'm biased, but two, when you watch Lawrence throw, Lawrence is it's wide and it's not very snappy. Like, the right hand can be snappy, but everything else is very loose. Chris's punches are always tight. Like, he throws the left hook brilliantly. The right hand is really well done. And it was, could he avoid being hit and hurt enough to get those punches over? And that left hook in the 4th round changed his life forever for the better.
Absolutely.
What an absolutely perfect punch. And the fact that Shane was talking about how when Lawrence falls out, he falls down to the side, and he was able to pick that shot, kind of come up. The problem I thought is afterwards, after he landed the shot, it was more like an up and round, and he was trying to bring it over after that. And it was just Lawrence who was just kind of getting in the way of it. So I think for the rematch, that's probably something they will do. Do I want to see a rematch of that fight? Dear God, no. I want to see both of them move on. I want to see Lawrence up at heavyweight, and I'll maybe watch him again. It's really hard to watch. It's really hard to watch. Like, he seems like he's a genuinely nice guy.
I can only imagine how bad him versus the likes of Dillian White would be.
I was thinking him versus what's that chap's name? Akande, or the guy that lost to the Polish guy but got to decision.
Oh, yes, I can't remember his name.
The guy that lost to the Polish guy and got to David.
Adelaide.
That's it. Imagine him versus Adelaide. Ugh.
That never happened. I mean, they never got on that. But that could not have happened to a better person than Chris. That's all I'll say on the rest of it. I could be here for ages, but it was absolutely wonderful. I've seen Ricky Burns fight when he won his first world title. It was absolutely made up. Josh won his first world title. It was absolutely made up. Watching Froch beat Butte, that's Chris winning the world title superseded all of that for me. That was unbelievable. That's my favorite fight I've seen, a moment we've had in watching boxing. It was just
amazing.
Yeah, no, it really was. It was kind of
another thing that Chris Billam-Smith, not only is he a world title winner now, he's also owner of the best ring entrance in boxing.
It's so good.
I think that song now, Kano. Yeah. I think that's synonymous with him now, just like All of the Lights with Kell Brook.
Yeah, can't
much
stop.
As I love that song, I'd never dare use it because it's just him. And I think,
but it's wonderful, and how it manifests.
It was Adele before it, wasn't it?
It was Hometown Glory by Adele. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a person who used that was Anthony Crowder. Used to use that in Manchester.
Mm-hmm.
He used the James Arthur version, which I do prefer. But what I loved about that entrance was Chris was walking out to the ring with Hometown Glory, and he looked emotional. And he was soaking it all in. He was taking it all in and enjoying it. But as soon as his fight song came on, he changed. He was a different man. And the blinders were on, so to speak. And like George Grove said in the commentary, he's a gentleman, but tonight he looks nasty. And he did. He looked like he had bad intentions on the way to that ring. And I think the atmosphere, everything just added up for him on the night.
That was the moment. That was the Bellew moment at Goodison. That was absolutely everything, and he nailed it. But what it was, I thought the occasion got to Conlon in terms of he was like, I've got to perform for everybody. Mm-hmm. And Chris used it and managed to channel it positively. And that was just, we wasn't going to be denied and he won it legitimately. Like with all the points and everything like that, he won that fight legitimately.
And I think Barry Jones made a great point in the review. Was if that would have been anywhere else in Bournemouth, other than Bournemouth, that right hand was knocking him out.
We might find out because I don't. They aren't going to do that again in Bournemouth. Yes.
Yeah, like that. The one thing I took from it is sometimes good guys do win, and that was wonderful. For both him and Shane McGuigan.
Absolutely.
I mean, because Okoli was saying pretty uncomplimentary things about Shane McGuigan, like he works him too hard. That's the whole point. Like, you don't become a world champion by, doing fucking YouTube videos and flicking out, doing pad work on TikTok. Like, you really have to work. And I mean, Shane, and he does say that he works them very, very hard. And anyone in camp will tell you that. But the point of it is, when you have that discipline that Chris Billam-Smith has, and I mean, like you, I've seen him fight, and I never thought he'd win a world title. But I backed him to beat Lawrence Okoli. And the reason being because I believe that Chris Billam-Smith had more, just discipline in him to do it versus the ill discipline of Lawrence Okoli. Now, it was in Bournemouth, and that helped Chris Billam-Smith. And you could say it, the crowd helped sway the referee as well, because some of them knockdowns wouldn't have been called knockdowns elsewhere. I'm not saying Chris Billam-Smith didn't win, but I'm just saying the whole occasion worked in his favour, and he 100%. Used it in his favour.
The second knockdown wasn't a knockdown.
Sorry?
The second one, the one where
the first one was 100% excellent, wonderful, but the second one wasn't a knockdown. And if you were anywhere else, but I'm not even sure it was. Now I'm going to contradict myself. I don't think it was the crowd necessarily that annoyed the referee. I think the referee was just sick of Okoli's play acting. And said, right, I'm giving you a count for this.
Like, people might complain about Chris Billam-Smith giving out to the ref during the fight and saying, it's a fight, get on with it. But you know what? When you're being fouled, you have every right to give out to the referee.
Shane was hilarious. Like, you could hear it so clearly. Like, we were talking about Ben Davidson being in the ring. Like, I could hear Shane as well as I could hear Andy Clark. It was nuts.
And I didn't actually, I don't know now if I just forget. I don't remember any apologies for swearing in this fight, which I was...
No.
I think they did say it at one point, but it wasn't as pronounced because it was just so much going on that it kind of was...
You know the way usually they take you away from the fight for a few seconds and be like, oh, sorry about
that. And because I think every break went to an ad, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't get to hear the corners.
I think it was after the 10th round, they videoed Sugar Hill like storming over to the ref.
Yeah.
And they cut very quickly back to Okoli. That was like the only one that didn't have an ad during the break.
Yeah, well...
But, just look, you were watching it and you were thinking, it's going to be over in a minute. Okoli's going to get him.
Yeah.
And that is how it felt. It just felt like an impending...
but that was the whole point. That's why, like, as everyone said, it wasn't a great fight, but he had you on the edge of your seat because you did not know what was going to happen next.
The joys being a puncher.
It was kind of like, you know the way with me, I'll never bet against Wilder just because he can hit that hard. It was almost one of those where you're like, does Okoli hit that hard? We don't actually know if he does. Because I think Shane McGuigan made a very good point. In the gym when he's 16 stone, he hits harder with 18-ounce gloves on than he does at 4 when he has to drag himself down to 14.4 and punch you with 10-ounce gloves. He says if he moves up to heavyweight, he's a puncher. Because I think...
It's a Ryder effect, isn't it?
He hits harder than Wilder.
His power.
Yeah, but if he moves up to heavyweight, he's in with the big punchers then. So he has to remember
that. He's won as well at heavyweight.
Well, he's 6 foot.
Why is he at heavyweight then? Like,
He's huge.
Yeah, he's a freak. But it's such a strange one because, like you said, if he leant further back, almost if he was then like snapping and then it was coming all the way from back here, it would just help with that balance a bit more. It's like I said, we can all see it's there. He was getting there under Shane, but again, he regressed a little bit. It's not enough time for Sugar Hill to do that. Like we were talking about is Sugar Hill going to improve him? Because he's done well with Tyson Fury, but I'm not seeing anything amazing with
one thing Tyson Fury has, though, that Okoli doesn't, and it's going to sound contradictory because I've been calling Fury a duck the last few months, but when he's in the ring, he's brave. Fury's not a coward in the ring. And Fury's not afraid of taking a dig. if he can give one to you.
Well, Fury's well able to take a punch. I mean, that's always been one of his big.
So, well, take a punch and fall over and get back up, yes. But with a Coley, he doesn't even want to take that risk.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
I agree with you 100%. Because
it's willing. It's kind of like, say, if you're like a cop and you see someone getting mugged and you wait till the mugging's over to go and help them. That's what Coley's like. He's like, oh, okay, it's 100% safe now. I'll go in. Whereas
it's like playing poker. If you've got a good hand, you've got to take a risk. Whereas he's waiting until he's got 2 pocket aces.
Exactly.
But
that's not what you can't do that.
But that comes from his lack of amateur experience. The fact that, again, we remember that Lawrence has probably had 50, 60 fights. And he's a world champion, like an Olympian. Like, it's nuts what he's achieved, and it's still there. Yeah. The fight I want to see, if he's not going to heavyweight, is Riakporhe.
Oh yes.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see that. I mean, I called out for that. Jesus, I think it was
ages ago. That's the fight to make. Ages ago, so I thought Lawrence was the number 1 in the world. I thought he was the best cruiserweight. I think that now makes Chris the number 1 in the world, which is absolutely mind-blowing. What they're going to do with Opetaia, who knows? What they're going to do with Makabu, who knows? What in God's name happening with Koulibaly? And that is the only real active title short of...
And Badu Jack's waiting for Canelo.
Yeah, exactly. He's waiting on Canelo, so... I mean, what I want to see is Chris fight Canelo. That would be absolutely mad.
Yeah, let's he's far enough English, man.
Can we pitch... I'm just going to pitch something to you, right? So, Chris defends his world title. Then, May 5th next year, they do a Saudi-style custom-built stadium in the New Forest. Canelo comes over and he fights Chris. Canelo comes in looking like Sebum off the physique stage because he's 200 pounds of pure muscle. Gives Chris 7 bells of hell for 4 rounds, and then Chris just gradually wears a tired Canelo down, stops him at the end, and then the whole of the South Coast just catches fire. That's the dream. That's the one I'm pitching for.
And then you wake up and and Patrick Ewing is in the shower. You know that like.
I don't look.
You had me up until he beats Canelo.
Yeah.
Well, look, and I don't think Canelo makes a dent in any world class.
200 pounds. He's not a 200 pounder. He's a 168. It's a silly weight class to be at.
There's weight classes for a reason. And even you'd have to give Badu Jack a damn good chance of knocking Canelo out. Like,
but the reason he's waiting for Jack is Jack
a better chance of knocking Canelo out, if that's not being disrespectful to Chris Smith.
I mean, Badu Jack's a 3-weight world champion.
Chris said he'd like to fight in Vegas as well.
Yeah,
that's what he would
like. For a Coley, without putting a Coley down, how would he cope with like a Babic? Seriously,
he would knock him out cold. Because I think with Allen, literally all a Coley would have to do is, even if he fell in with that right hand, Allen's punches are so wild.
Kill him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
how would he cope? How would he cope with that? You know, like
aggression.
Yeah, like
no. I think because he's so big. Smith is so big. He could really keep him back with a jab.
Well, Smith knows him very well as well, and Chris is a big man. Like, he's not a small man.
That's my point. So Chris could easily just keep him away and then knock him out.
Oh, you mean a Coley? Sorry, a Coley could keep him away and knock him out.
Sorry, we're not talking about Chris Smith.
No, we're talking about a Coley fight.
How would a Coley deal with a Babic kind of character?
Oh, sorry.
Where he's coming in as soon as the bell rings, like Babic is just like yabba dabba doo, and off he goes. Like, wind him up and watch him go.
It'd be a wrestling match.
That's it. But like, if you had someone like Chisora, how would a Coley do with a Chisora?
That would be an awful fight. I'd hate that fight so much.
Jesus,
it'd be horrible, wouldn't it?
You're really making me, puke now with all these matchups.
Realistic. These could happen.
Yeah, these could happen.
Yeah, they can happen, but I don't want to watch them, and I ain't going to watch them.
Reakporhe's the one to make, because they're two flawed punchers. That's what they are. And like, Richard is a bit stiff, a bit robotic, whereas Coley's a bit more languid, a bit more loose. But again, they're both prone to falling over the front foot. They both fight sporadically. They're both absolutely huge and fight like a Coley fights because he punches and falls in. He fights like he's 6 foot, not 6'5". And Richard is so down and so tense that when he throws at 6'2", not whatever he is. That's the fight. That's the fight I genuinely would like to see. It's
They're
not
both,
going to happen.
They
won't
both
happen
be
with that
punching each
title.
other in the chest wherever their punches go.
But
they're not used to punching at their own height.
Who is Reactor with at the minute?
They're with Sky, and they're waiting on Goulamarian.
Oh.
That's the fight they're waiting for. So we'll wait and see what happens.
If I'm a Coley, I get back into the UK and I go to an Adam Smith. Someone who can teach you how to use that jab and show us nice straight right hand behind it. Because I think with Sugar Hill, he's all about the KO. It's all about the KO. I think a Coley's mind then is just thinking, I need to land that perfect shot. He did not box his way into any of those punches on Saturday night.
When he did get desperate, I thought that was him at his best when he stood up on his toes, dug his toes into the ring, and went bang, and then he throws this right hand, and I thought, holy crap! When you said Adam Smith, who did you mean?
Sorry,
I'm having a blind moment. Who's Adam Smith?
Did I say Adam Smith?
Yes.
You did. You meant Adam Booth, is it?
Adam Booth.
There we go. That makes more. I was like, does he mean Grant Smith or does he mean Adam Booth?
I know we've all done it,
Yeah, absolutely. I was just like, my brain was like the Sky guy.
No, I actually understood you meant Adam Booth when he said Adam Smith. So I was like, that could work.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Adam Booth. Yeah, my apologies. Would be a good coach for a Coley.
Tony Sims.
Could be.
Sorry,
Tony Sims, Mark Tibbs, two great guys behind the jab.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but the thing is, in my opinion, he was with the best guy.
Yeah. I can't disagree.
Like that's where I was at.
Well, is that not exposing his own failing then?
Do you think he was almost too accepting of the defeat as well?
I think he thinks that was my mate. Good for him. 2, he thinks that was the worst I've ever been, and I still nearly won that fight in his head. And it was the points that cost me. And he goes, "I'll nail it in the rematch." That's in my head. I think he goes a bit like Ben Davidson was thinking for Wood was like, "Don't worry, we'll just get him in the rematch." But I thought
like even when I didn't get the decision there a couple of months ago and I thought I won, I still was devastated, and that wasn't anywhere near a world title level. No. Like I can only imagine how I'd feel if I lose a world title live on Sky Sports. I don't think I could be as smiley about it as he was.
I think,
but you would have gone through a succession of
but I mean
levels that you begin to
I understand
deal with it as well.
He's like, we'll get next time.
When I was like training as an athlete, there was a thing that I was told by one of my coaches that was stuck with me, which was, your job is very simple. You train as hard as you can, you get in the best shape you can, you give 100% on the day, and the result is almost irrelevant. If that's a Coley's mindset, then I understand how he arrives at that decision, but I don't think he can sit and look at him and go, that was the best I could have given.
No, exactly. Except he failed the first 3 tests.
Like, he's not going to sit down with his kids in the future and say, "Oh, this one's a classic, we'll watch this." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not what we know. Yeah, it's not like a Gaffney Award fight.
Do boxers watch the road fights back?
Some do, some don't. Some do, some. Well, Wood was saying he watched the Lara fight back 40 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was probably to learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not kind of sit and watch it with your kids. I was kind of thinking, do boxers do that?
So where does CBS go? Where do you want Chris to go?
I would unify.
Do you want him to unify?
Yeah.
Yes, that'd be good.
He has to go for it all now.
Yeah, he's all in at this point. Yeah, he's already all in. I like the Goulamarian fight. I think that's the fight to make.
I like your Canelo fight. I really do. But I think if we're being realistic, and maybe
not happening, is it?
Well, financially, it's unviable. Like, I mean, the Americans ain't buying it. The Mexicans won't buy it, and the Brits are.
Canelo sells out anywhere in the UK.
Yeah, they do that at the O2. Mm-hmm. They would do that at the O2. That's what I would imagine.
But
would that be enough money for Canelo though?
But they do it. The money with Canelo, it would be DAZN would give him like a massive guarantee, and it would just.
Or maybe even Manchester, because that's the biggest indoor arena.
Yeah, probably Manchester actually.
But no, for Smith now. If I'm Smith, I go for it all. That's it now. You've already overachieved. Just go for it.
go all in, and you go Goulamarian, you go, because there's no point in the Riakporhe fight now. Riakporhe didn't give him a shot.
No,
it's a good fight, but why do you give them that when you've got Goulamarian or you've got
Riakporhe can fight Akoli?
Yeah, which that won't happen now. The Opataya fight is, I think, the most likely when he gets back, because their manager came over to sign the fight and it just didn't happen.
Is that the Australian?
Yeah.
Is his jaw 100% now?
I don't know if it's 100% because these he's still nowhere near back and there's still kind of no word. But I mean, if I was Chris, I'd want him then, because you'd want him in his first fight back after the jaw when he's still worried about it.
I tell you what I do if I'm Chris. I stay away from Breedis. You don't allow him any voluntary chances.
No.
But no, I just wish the very best for him now from here on in.
Absolutely. I mean,
and he's not box office. He can be messy enough himself, but you can tell he leaves it all in the ring.
He gets 100% out of it.
Yeah.
He can be quite robotic as well. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't call him messy per se. I call him more robotic than messy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know. I would agree with Endo on that front, and he's got a habit of, because he's such a good athlete without being quite as languid and fluid.
Yeah,
it does look a bit messy because
he doesn't look like a natural boxer. He looks like a guy that has learned.
When I think of messiness, I mean like the first Tommy McCarthy fight.
Yeah.
That was a messy affair.
I think at that weight you get away with that a lot more. And if you go to one of the undercard fights that we'll talk about, you get away with being big, strong, tough, and a bit stiff, as long as you can punch at cruiser and heavy. Joe Pigford is strong and tough, but stiff, and you don't get away with it at that weight.
No, and I mean, that referee, we talk about towels. That referee should have stepped in a good 10 seconds sooner than he did.
The first punch.
Pigford took such a shellacking.
They were now, I'm not defending the referee, but I'm going to explain it, okay? I do think he came in a bit late, but he did try to come in, and Eglinton nearly pushed him out of the way almost, because he was like a bull.
But the mistake that a lot of refs make is refs often grab the guy getting punched.
You stop the guy
doing the punching.
Yeah, but as the ref was trying to move in,
you have to be brave.
Shoved him out of the way.
You have to be brave to do it, for sure.
That first punch that rocked Pigford's head, if the referee had stopped it then, the amount of people that have been complaining will be huge.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to have to bounce in a second, guys.
That's fine.
One thing I want to say is I want to see Bradley Ray versus Sam Eglinton next year. I think Bradley Ray coming back from defeat against a very, very horrible man to fight in Denny.
Denny, yeah.
It's an awkward bastard. You just don't want to fight that guy.
I think Ray Eglinton would be box office. You know what I mean?
Would seriously, if Boxer wanted to do something amazing, if they had a Manchester night with a good fight on maybe a Jack Catterall or something, and have that as the co-main event, I think that'd be absolute fireworks.
Absolutely.
What they used to do is you throw a good fight, Eddie used to do this, a guaranteed firefight. Like, it doesn't have to be an elite fight. It's a fight where you go, that'll be 10 rounds of great.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Eglinton Pigford was supposed to have been.
Yeah, and I think Ray could win that fight.
Yeah. I mean, Sam's
got more than enough.
If Ray's going to win it, he'd have to win it on points.
I don't know. Eglinton can be hurt.
I'd take.
But Eglinton, no, I'm not saying Ray doesn't punch hard. I'm just saying Eglinton is impossible to get out of there. You know,
he's the English Margarito.
Yeah. He's just such a great guy. Before you go, Lux, I know that we have a different opinion on this. Loma Haney, do you want to give your case before we'll lose?
Yeah. Well, I'll happily talk about actually the other fight you mentioned.
Yeah.
So Loma Haney, I have it literally a 2-round difference to you. So I thought how I broke it down was, and I watched it again after watching it at silly o'clock in the morning, and I still had it the same way. So I thought Haney was really good at taking centre of the ring in the start of the fight, landing those body shots, especially that right hook to the body. And I thought his double jab was quite effective. Single jabs weren't working on Loma, and he adapted it and went double. And I thought that was really good at keeping Loma at bay. And Loma was doing a round stealing kind of show in the first half of the fight, whereas the first 2.5 minutes, was slow, more Haney's pace, and then the last 30 seconds was Lomachenko landing combinations. For me, you have to do more than win 1/6 of the round to win the whole thing. Sorry?
It depends how you win that 1/6.
Well, it does very much depend on that, but I don't think he was doing enough to win
I think it varies.
those rounds. And I think with the later the fight went, Lomachenko was really coming on, finding his stride. I think it was around round 5 or 6 when Lomachenko realized, wait a second now, this isn't as hard as I thought it'd be. I'm going to kick it up a gear. And then he did.
I thought this was the thing that ultimately I think I ended up scoring it to Lomachenko, was when he kicked it up a gear. So I had it dead even at halfway, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
When
I had about 4-2, I think.
Yeah, and I had it 4-2 in the second half. When he kicked it up a gear, Haney couldn't live with that gear. And that was what I thought was the difference, was the shots that always catch my eye. We talked about it earlier with the 1-2-1 where the head does that. It's Lomachenko that lands those punches. Those are the ones where I'm going, that's the punch I remember. That's the one that I remember at this round.
Yeah.
When I was writing down, it was a case of I was like, that was 3 minutes where they were absolutely dead even. But the 2 punches I remember are the left hands from Lomachenko.
Yeah, I get that.
But that was the best I've seen Haney box. Haney was an elite lightweight at that time. And Lomachenko is an elite lightweight now, whereas before I thought he was a step above, because he doesn't go anymore. He goes once, and that's it. Whereas he used to be able to go, turn, pivot, whatever you want to do it.
100%.
It's not there anymore.
And I think, look, I gave Haney the last round.
I actually also gave Haney the last round.
And that's what swung it for me.
Yeah.
It would have been a draw otherwise.
I think I gave Haney. Sure, I gave Haney the last round.
I had him up 6-5.
Was that the one that Loma said he took his
foot off the gas
because he had it won?
Yeah, he thought he had it won, which
then seemed to walk back that claim
after 400 plus fights, there should be no such thing as naivety.
No, but he this is a common thing, kind of Eastern Europeans, right? I will say there's a case for him to win that round, because the problem is we grade in a curve, because he's won 3 rounds in a row on my card. Right?
It's recency bias, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's won 9, 10, 11. And then when looking at 12 going, Haney's doing a lot better in this round. But if you view it in isolation, it's still a dead close round. And I scored that to Loma. And I remember thinking as I scored it, I'm like, I think I'm giving Haney this because it was better than the 11th.
And in fairness, sorry, Enda, go on.
No, I didn't see this fight now, and I didn't watch it back yet. But I want to ask the question, and it is an American thing. You know the way you have to beat the champ.
Bollocks. Yeah, it's nonsense.
But is that what the judges were doing?
I don't think so.
No, I think the judges were. It's one of those. So there's a pattern here, and I'm going to moan about something, right? And there's a pattern where the Eastern European fighter comes across, and he fights in a more traditional boxing kind of European style, and the American fighter, in inverted commas, because the examples I'm going to give aren't, they fight in a very specific style. And I think the judges prefer that style, because I thought Ward beat Kovalev beat Ward in the first fight. He didn't get it. I thought Golovkin beat Canelo, who fights in a more.
Well, everyone did it, apart from that stupid woman.
But I'm talking both.
Oh no, he didn't win the second fight. Sorry.
I thought he won the second fight.
I had Canelo win the second one.
Yeah, and I know
so we're the same. And Canelo won the third.
Oh, that wasn't close. That was a totally different thing, right?
But then we had that was a retirement fight.
Lomachenko, Haney, and there was a couple of others I'll need to look up, where basically what's happening is there's a consistent theme with the young American fighter is getting the nod over the Eastern European fighter. And I think it's a style thing. I don't think it's a bias thing. I think they prefer a certain style, and I know it's the style that you like.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I love Lomachenko's style too. But I just think with Haney, one thing I'll give Lomachenko credit for, the rounds he won were much clearer wins.
Yeah, he won those rounds.
The rounds I gave Haney. Now I've watched it twice. I haven't changed my mind on the outcome, but I'm also not going to argue with Adam saying he had a 7-5 the other way.
Yeah.
I
but
think
isn't that just where you got these fellas going in saying you should be able to score rounds wider and differently, and
Oh, Kellerman, right? So I like the idea. His idea is absolutely unworkable, if that makes sense.
Oh, it's absolutely unworkable. When I saw it, I was like, you could have any result then, and you could justify it.
Human error is just a great thing, isn't it? You know what I mean?
But it's not even human error; it's human interpretation.
But you're just allowing for mistakes.
Yeah, I think the one thing
when
we
it's
should
not
do,
a mistake, like you and Adam scored that differently, wasn't necessarily a mistake because you both value different things, and that's the whole point of something like boxing or gymnastics and how they're scored, because it's the judges in what they have.
Sorry. Chocolatito. That was Chocolatito Estrada. That was the other example I was going to give.
Yes.
Estrada, the Mexican, fights in a slightly more American fashion than Chocolatito.
Yeah,
I think
Europeans prefer Chocolatito.
Just for a future fight, do you think if it was in America, Fulton and Inoue could end up like that?
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But that's a great fight, and it's in Japan, so it's totally different.
Unreal.
I don't think Inoue's going to let it go to the judges anyway.
Do you think he knocks out Fulton? Because Fulton's
really good.
If Inoue stops Fulton, Terence Crawford is going to have to do a lot to make me say he's pound number one, because that is an unbelievable win.
But I mean, like Inoue has been my number one, and he's been kind of pushed off because he hasn't fought, so he's lost it. He's lost the belt out of the ring. But if he wins against Fulton,
now don't get me wrong, Usyk is beating lads 40 pounds bigger than him, so Inoue beating Fulton isn't a massive stretch, but I think Fulton's very, very good. And I think
that's the point. Fulton is very, very good as well. So it's not quite the same as Usyk beating.
And this is Fulton's chip on his shoulder fight.
Well, he's gone to Japan.
Give me my credit.
So much credit for this.
Exactly.
Yeah. So much credit for this.
But yeah, with Haney Lomachenko, would I like to see a rematch? I would, because it was very entertaining. But Haney's going up. That's it.
Haney's going up, and I think that was Loma's last dance.
Yeah,
I think that was everything he had, and I think that's going to physically take a lot out of him. Now
know my answer.
Yep.
Do you think he has a shot against Shakur?
No, I don't think anyone has a shot at Shakur.
Okay,
I think Lomachenko of 2018 beats Shakur, and I think the Lomachenko of 2018 beats all of them. He needs time.
Okay.
He's the best fighter I've seen live by an app. He was unbelievable when I saw him.
But the Campbell fight?
I think the Campbell fight.
Yeah, that was the same as myself.
Yeah, that was it, because he's the guy. Very rarely do I sit and go wow, and he was the guy that makes me go wow. And I think he'll never be appreciated for how good I think he is, but I think he is very much a case of people like me will probably slightly overrate what he achieved in the pros. But a lot of people won't rate exactly how good he was just when you watch him.
One of the eye test, he passes the eye test.
He's just unbelievable, and I think
one thing, there was a point made, and I forget who made it now. But people saying you can't be using his amateur pedigree to rate his pro career.
You can't. That's not how it works.
I think it's so fair. Yeah, because if you put both together, so if you're talking like, say, for example, we were having a GOAT conversation. And I said, X is the GOAT. And you said, well, no, Lomachenko is the GOAT. He's won 2 gold medals, 396 fights, 4 losses, and then he's done this in the pros, blah, 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 blah. Then, if you're putting it all together, he probably is one of the greatest of all time.
But he's not as a pro.
You just have to be objective. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you couldn't put him in the argument for the GOAT as a pro.
Do you know what he is? He is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He's a former pound-for-pound number 1, but he will not make it into the top 10 of any particular division.
Yeah.
Because he didn't achieve enough in each divisions. However, he will have been one of the best fighters going for when he was.
I'm just raging we never got the Mikey Garcia fight.
And that was bad. That's down to Mikey.
That was the fight. That was Mikey.
That was the fight to make. That was the moment for both of them, and they missed it.
But. And who do you want Haney next? I think the Prograis fight's class.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Oh,
fight.
yeah.
Such a good fight. And I think the winner...
That's the chief support, isn't it, for Crawford Spence, isn't it?
Is it?
Prograis Haney.
Prograis Haney, really? That's got a headliner card on DAZN.
No, sorry.
That's a headliner, that is.
Yeah, that'll headline DAZN. Because Haney's just... Sorry. Prograis just signed with
Matchroom,
and Haney's now free.
Yeah, he promotes himself.
Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of a different
He's
fight. And I'm gonna
free at a top rank. So
Enda, you were making all my dreams come true there for a second.
Yeah.
That would have been up there with this mythical card in December in the Middle East that's allegedly happening.
Listen, do you know what? I have blocked the word Fury on my Twitter feed because it is such a crock of shit. Like any big fight happening, Fury comes out of the woodwork. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this.
One more before you go then, Luke.
Yeah.
Taylor Lopez, who wins?
I think Taylor wins.
I think Taylor wins as well. And
I think the old Froch adage of too big, too strong.
Too good.
That's probably
I don't know about
where I'm as I said, if Taylor stops him, he wins. Otherwise, Lopez.
But I will make a comment on that fight, and I had it on my Instagram story today. From his comments last night now saying what he wants to do to be respected is to catch a body. Like, that is just despicable.
Well, isn't that all bullshit that they all do? I mean,
Wilder
Fury said it, and Wilder has said it, and so many of them have said it.
But I mean, the way he said it though, you could tell he means it too. That's what annoyed me. I
think that's just hollow bravado.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
That's all it is. But there's no need. Like, we know how good he is. He's like, I think after, was it Martin he fought?
Sandor Martin.
And he goes, do I have it anymore? And then we jumps in with Josh Taylor, which shows he's got a bit of confidence in himself.
That shows top rank have gone. We've got one dickhead here. We've got one dick here. We're only going to deal with one of them. That's what that fight is.
And I think with Teofimo, he might start well against Taylor, but come 3, 4, 5, when Taylor starts turning the screw, I think we'll see him break. I think Taylor will stop him.
If Taylor fights the way he fought Prograis, I think he stops Lopez.
And this is my first time picking against Lopez because I really like him as a boxer.
Yeah, the thing he's it's here. That's his issue.
And also, is he having hand issues? Because, like I said the last time, he was wearing winning gloves against Martin. And you're not a puncher anymore if you're wearing winning gloves.
Apart from Inoue. Oh, Inoue is the only guy I've seen sleep somebody with a winning.
Yeah, that's true actually. But that lad's just different, anyways.
Built different, right? Yeah. Do you have time to go through Davis Garcia, or shall we call it that?
Go on. Oh, yeah, a couple of minutes.
Very quickly on Davis Garcia. Exactly what we thought. There's levels to this game.
Literally. I picked round 8.
Did you?
So I was a round off.
What did I have? I think it was. Did we agree on that?
I think we did.
I think we did agree on that. I think we were close. It was.
I remember I did a Twitter conversation with the great Barry McGuigan about
this,
and I said that Garcia would not win a genuine world title. Like, he might win that ordinary belt that they've thrown around sometimes.
Raleigh.
But and McGuigan said no, he'll win one, and I'm sticking by that now more.
McGuigan has to say that though, Enda, because of what he did to Luke Campbell.
Yeah, because he beat Luke Campbell, but that just shows the levels there.
It looked like literally. But that literally looked like a spar where someone's letting the young lad have a go at him.
Yeah.
And then the young lad took liberties, and then the experienced boxer goes, "Fuck this," and it's over. That's exactly what it looked like.
In the second.
Oh, what a shot.
The first round, he was doing fine. I thought he was he was good and he was stamping it. And I was like, that's not bad. He came out in the second round. I was like, he's panicked. Because he's gone, I'm not hitting him with anything clean. I'm going to have to go. And then Tank just rolls there, round it comes. And it's the same shot Campbell catches him with. It's exactly the same.
Something really interesting that Davis said was he wasn't fast in there.
No.
So I think people have it in their head that he's fast. And then they're like, oh shit, he is fast. Whereas Davis was like, I know where my feet are. I know where his feet are. He can't hit me from here. As soon as he jumps in with that, I'm just going to dip my head.
Because he's so tall and Davis is so short. Davis needs to do that and the hook went over his head. Exactly. Whereas if you're 5'9" like Campbell, you can't get out of the way of that.
But Garcia as well, I mean, people were talking about speed, but they were all basing that from his social media, where he dazzles on the bags and on the pads. But the one thing a lot of people are picking out was he leaves huge gaps when he's throwing those punches.
And another thing, just to finish off with Davis, because I love Davis. I think he's great to watch, even though he throws 20 punches around. I think 135 is his ceiling at elite level.
I don't think he goes up there. But my point on Davis is he's a fabulous boxer, but a reprehensible person.
Oh yeah.
But it's just
Like,
could you imagine
base
him?
Boxers on their kind of qualities as a human being, there's very few.
I wouldn't pick Davis against Prograis. I wouldn't pick him against Taylor. I don't think I'd pick him against Catterall, the way Catterall's boxing. I think his ceiling is 135.
Physically, yeah. I think the problem he's going to have is, does he lose that immediate impact as he goes to 140?
I think so.
I think that's what it is, because you can't get away with 20 punches around if you're not going to knock someone out.
I think with Barrios, when he knocked out Barrios was dead at the weight.
Yeah, I don't think he's fought anyone that good.
When Barrios fought Thurman, he took the punches. I just think it was that extra 7 pounds off Barrios that just killed his chin.
Yeah, and I bet it's again a case it was Cruz. I'm with you on that. He's just he's very good, and
he's excellent.
The fight is if Haney doesn't stick around, it's Shakur versus Davis. That's the fight.
I think there's only one winner.
Yeah.
I'm very, very high on Shakur. I have him on my pound list already. I think he's excellent.
Yeah, I think Shakur.
I think we're all Shakur fans.
Yeah, I think we all are. Shakur is size. That's what will beat Shakur one day.
But when he gets up to like 154 or something, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to plateau like them all, like Canelo.
What's going to happen is he's going to get to a weight where the size he adds on negatively affects his attributes.
Exactly.
That's what's going to happen.
Too bulky and immobile, and he won't be able to do his.
Like Canelo, I think that's what
happens. Yeah, exactly.
Canelo,
it's Canelo at a lower weight. Yeah.
So is Taylor Lopez our next big one then?
Yes, that's the June 10th, and then I think we're into July. With the big ones. We'll do a show for the big ones. So
yeah, perfect. I'm gonna miss Taylor Lopez because I'm in Turkey. I don't know if anywhere will be showing it.
It'll be on.
It'll be somewhere.
I'll have to find a sports bar or something to.
It'll be 6 a.m. in Turkey or 7 a.m. in Turkey.
If we find it, well, actually, if you got a Magic VPN thing, because Sky will put it up on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I could just watch it on Sky Go or something, couldn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. So long as
you could watch it after, after the fact, because Sky do put it on YouTube. Or do they put the top rank ones on YouTube?
Yep.
The Sky do. It's like a day later or something.
Yeah, it's the Sunday at some. So as long as it just disappears for a bit, it'll be fine. But
yeah.
Perfect.
We'll call it there
because
that's fine.
Cinema 8:00.
I'll
what are you going to see? What's in the flicks tonight?
The Little Mermaid is what I'm going to see, and
I knew that's exactly what you're going to say. Right. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen.
Not my choice.
Enjoy.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good night, everybody.
Okay, Songful.